Welcome to another edition of Showtime with Coop. Insightful BS with the Laker teammates and NBA legends. Today you get all Cooper Loop. Nobody else today. And I'm waving my Laker flag because all those naysayers and people that don't believe in the Lakers, I'm telling you now, they're going to win the championship. I know when the season started and they lost to the Warriors and they lost to Phoenix, everybody's like, oh, they're in an uproar. Well, the Lakers, again, I have told everybody, all right, that it's going to see me after the All-Star break, and then we'll talk. Right now, the Lakers are sitting in the 7th slot, but the playoffs are a long time away.
Yeah, they're
the
4 games in.
Very, very good basketball team. Thoughts, Ari?
They're 4 games in. They're 2-2, coming off a nice win without LeBron last night against the San Antonio Spurs. A lot of people in my neck of the woods.
A game that they could have lost too.
Yeah, oh yeah. The Grizzly game too a few nights ago. So, I think the big thing here is how bad it looked with Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis getting into it earlier. What was that, in the Suns game?
In the Suns game. But you know what? They're going to be, let's go in sections, Ari, okay? We're going to talk about the Lakers rotation. We're going to talk about, obviously, the A.D. Howard skirmish. We're going to talk about Westbrook and LeBron James out on the court at the same time. And last but not least, we'll cover chemistry. And I think all those are important, okay? So let's start out with first the rotation, okay? I think Coach Vogel has a very interesting dilemma on his hands. And it's one I think any other coach would love to have, okay? You got a ton of players. You got a lot of guys that need to play. You got some superstars, aging superstars on other that played in this league. You got three of the top 75 players on the team. So you got a lot of things that you got to work with. First of all, let's talk about the big four: AD, LeBron, Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony. I think that is going to be a very, very it's going to be a real sensitive rotation that you're going to have to do, but that's where he's going to have to kind of like filter it and find it out. I think it kind of brought itself to a nice head last night. Obviously, with LeBron out with the ankle sprain, you get a chance to see what Russell Westbrook brings to the team. He's limited with his perimeter shot, but I don't judge a player on that because the things that Russ do, he's a stat filler, rebounds, assists, deflections, and scoring. You got a chance to see what the Lakers going to really be like. And again, their style of play is going to depend on that rotation when he makes those rotations.
So it's 4 games, so it's not a great sample. But I always like to look at NBA Stats has some really good breakdowns of like best lineups, and I go per 100 possessions instead of per game because per 100 possessions is a better stat because it takes into account it neutralizes pace. Points per game doesn't take into account some teams play faster, some teams play slower. Per 100 possessions, the average amount of possessions in a basketball game, it's a good indicator. So I set that all up to say, so far the lineup that's been most effective, and also also in terms of like they play a lot of minutes together, is LeBron, Carmelo, Rondo, Avery Bradley, and Anthony Davis. That unit together is played 59 minutes and is at 160 points per 100 possessions. Close to it at 53.7 minutes with 166.7 points per 100 possessions is Monk, Reeves, LeBron, Carmelo, and Dwight Howard. So I guess LeBron and Carmelo so far seem to be the best pairing. It's early, and neither of these lineups include Russell Westbrook, which is also interesting.
And see, you're so analytical. I love that about you, Ari. You just got all that going on. I ain't worried about the numbers, but I do believe that those are some interesting lineups. The lineup that I like, that I think that Westbrook could flourish in, I think is Westbrook, Monk, Reeves, Carmelo, and you can either go with AD or Dwight Howard. I like that lineup. That lineup there will let Westbrook be the player he's supposed to be. And I think you're going to have to, it's a fine line between all of that because obviously LeBron has to be on the floor. But again, going back to what we talked about our rotations is that it's going to be difficult, and Coach Vogel got to figure this out. And I think those two players, LeBron and Westbrook, got to figure out. Those two, I don't see being successful on the court at the same time.
So let me ask you something. And I agree with you entirely on that. How much of this is a feel out period for rotations, and how much does that differ from some of the teams you played on? Now, obviously teams you played on were established, so I think like minutes and rotations were obvious, but I mean, just kind of take me through like how much of the early part of the season will be Vogel trying to figure out his rotations.
I think that, like I said, up until the All-Star break, I think it's going to take a while. Some teams, some coaches might take 15, 20 games, 25. I think this is going to take a long stretch, because I think as LeBron looks and sees, I was really watching him last night as much as I could on the bench and what he was doing. He did a lot more talking to players than I've ever seen him talking before. So as he's watching, and who knows? Yes, I mean, the guy fell on his leg or something like that. But LeBron might have said, hey, you know what? This is a chance where I can sit back legitimately. Hey, I'm injured. Nobody can question that. And kind of look at the team from a coaching standpoint, because you see things better on the outside than the inside. So I think it's going to take them some time to figure this out. That's why I say Coach Vogel, it's a happy thing. Just think if you didn't have players and you only have 4 or 3 players and you're trying to figure out true role players and putting them in starting positions, I think that's where you're going to have an issue. But I think it's going to take some time, and I think the Lakers will eventually solve the problem themselves. And right now, I'm only talking about from the offensive standpoint. Defensively, the Lakers are a gem, man. They're going to really assert themselves defensively. They got that 3-prong, 7-foot attack coming again when they had AD, Howard, and JaVale McGee. Well, you throw DeAndre Jordan in there, AD, and Howard, you got that inside attack. And I think that's the reason why they won a championship in the bubble, and why they didn't last year, because now they couldn't allow AD to sit down. He had to be their defensive force. So I think eventually, to answer your question, it's going to take some time to filter this out. And I think when the Lakers get it filtered out and they find a solution, they are going to be very, very tough to beat.
And I will say this, when we talked throughout the offseason about the roster and the roster composition, we didn't talk about Malik Monk. He could be one of the more underrated acquisitions this offseason, because he's a multifaceted, versatile player. He's not going to need to be a guy that needs to play 30 plus minutes a game. He can play 20 plus and be effective. So he early going for Lakers. He's a guy that I'm like very intrigued by, because not a guy anticipated, playing a major role for this team, but he could be a very underrated player for this team.
Well, I got 2, and I like Malik Monk because, again, I think you hit on a good point. You don't have to play him a lot, and he doesn't require a lot of shots.
Right.
And I think the shots that he knocks down, and that's going to be an important part, because everybody's saying, oh, Lakers don't have any perimeter shooters. They got perimeter shooters, but they got key people that can get people open. You got to double Dwight. With LeBron backing people down, the double team has to come. He's moving the basketball. Look for the Lakers assist as a team to go up. I think that's going to be important, because usually teams that move the ball, and the Warriors proved this, led the league in assists as far as a team, 30 plus assists a game, and that creates open shots. The other player that I like, again, with Malik Monk, is that Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
That kid right there, man, came out of nowhere. I did not expect him anywhere, but you know what? If you look back through Laker history, and I don't judge this game on color or ethnicity or anything like that, but we had Kurt Rambis, the 20 Laker team with Shaq and Kobe had Bart Mason,
Stevie Blake,
Matt Matson, Steve Blake. You got to have that guy that comes in there. You got to have a Michael Cooper. This kid here comes in, and you know what? Not afraid to play the game. Good, solid player, can shoot the basketball, does all the little things, stands in there and take charges. You need players like that on your basketball team. And Reeves showed me something, and I think he deserves the minutes that he's getting.
Yeah. So Coop, along with the work I do here with you, I work with SiriusXM's Big 12 Radio, and Austin Reeves played last couple of years at Oklahoma, and he can fill it up.
Know where he came from.
He can fill it up, dude. This dude can. And here's the thing: is like when he's got no conscience, and when he hits, like this is a guy that could give you 30 in a game. Like I would not be surprised to watch a Laker game this year and have Reeves give him 30, because like he gets going, and he just doesn't stop. Like he's one of those guys that once he starts hitting, forget about it. And I mean, I agree with you. I didn't even realize until I started watching Laker games, he was on the roster. I was like, Austin Reeves on them? Because he's a good pickup. He's a transfer from Wichita State to Oklahoma. And he's like, there's just some games where he's, you know, in Oklahoma, he was a guy taking a ton of shots. He's not going to obviously get those shots here, but like he'd be 0 for 10 one game. And then he'd go 10 for his next 10. You know what I mean? Like that's just the kind of guy just kind of player that he is.
Well, those are the kind of players that Lakers need because they're the ones that's going to get them wide open shots. And with Monk and Reeves out there shooting the basketball, because they're going to see that basket without a hand in their face 80% of the time. But until people get wise and try not to leave them, then you get what you always wanted. You got AD going one-on-one. You got Carmelo in the post going one-on-one. You got LeBron. So you got some things that really make the defenses have to worry about through the course of a game. But again, back to our rotation question, I think the Lakers are going to figure it out. They'll get it. Yes, there's many lineups. I think with their lineups that they can change, they can also change the style of play. You want to play fast? We'll get a little smaller and still be effective. You want to play half court? We can really play that because then you put AD and Howard or AD and DeAndre Jordan in the game is what they start with. Now they're huge. And the Lakers are going to cause a lot of people some problems.
Yep, I agree. What was your next topic? Sorry, I forgot about it.
Next topic, AD, Dwight Howard skirmish. We saw that come into foreplay in the Phoenix game. And I think it was because, and you know what? I loved it. I actually enjoyed that because you have to have those kind of things going on in the team. Usually that happens in practice. Out of the eyes of the public.
That's
usually
the difference.
It happens in practice. You'll get it. The guys wash it, get it clean. And you know what? It's kind of good that it happened on national TV because, again, it gave people something to think about. But you know what? AD, and again, I know what happened, but I'm not going to disclose what happened. AD went and checked Howard, and I like the way that it happened. The players kind of got in there, but again, it was a matter of him asserting his role because I think as AD's gotten better, and especially after last year's debacle he had going into the playoffs and then getting injured, I think he's setting himself up because he knows one day LeBron's going to leave and he's going to have to take over as the leader of the team. Your thoughts?
So, number one, yes, and I know from having covered NBA teams before, like this stuff happens all the time. To your point, it doesn't happen a lot. It happens, but not as often in games. I think fans, they misconstrue what the idea of chemistry is. Like you're a family in a locker room. You are going to fight. You are going to disagree with each other. You want that. You don't want people that always get along and don't disagree with each other. So like chemistry, I think we have this feeling of like, these guys like each other and they're always getting along. No, really good teams do that because you've got hard ass personalities that are going to butt heads from time to time. And you want Anthony Davis holding his guys accountable, and his guys are the big guys. You want him holding that front court responsible. And you're exactly right. It seemed like he's been more tentative, a little bit more passive. So him taking on a more vocal leadership role is exactly it. And you know what? That will make their relationship stronger because you fight. Maybe there's a little bit of drama, but after that, it's like, all right, we said our thing. That's it. And now it's all out there and now we can move on. But it was just the timing of it, I think, was so perfect. The timing of it was so perfect because it was like they start 0-2 and, it's like, oh God, the Lakers are going to be horrible. Here it is blowing it up. And it's like, no, not at all.
No, you know what? People saw it as drama in La La Land. And I love that because that's what it's about. I remember the times that, we get ready to play the Celtics and we were practicing a regular season game. And, we had a week of practice. And for that particular game, the one before that, Magic came at me and like, Coop, you're supposed to be a defensive player, then fucking guard somebody.
Right.
And I went at him, you got to play deep. So you have that back and forth. But it's like you said, holding each other accountable for your actions out on the court. You kiss and make up, and then you go on and move forward. And I think that's the reason. And looking at it from that game until last night's game, AD was a monster, man. Came and played big, took two very hard spills. Thought his lead was injured on one, went up to dunk. The guy blocked it, fell on his back. But you know what? He got up and continued to play and led the team because LeBron wasn't there and led the Lakers to a victory.
Yeah, I mean, look at where they were when LeBron in the past, when LeBron hasn't played versus where they are now. Like watching the game last night, it's like, yeah, this is like a legit, without LeBron, this is a legit NBA team, like it just goes to show you the versatility that they have with Russ, with Carmelo, with Anthony Davis, that like, yeah, they're in such better shape because LeBron, like he's going to have injury games. He's going to have rest games. This only heightens their ability to win games in the absence of LeBron, which is what they need because LeBron's old and played a lot of minutes in the playoffs, and they need him to be at full capacity in the playoffs.
And all right, we haven't even talked about the guys that got sitting over there waiting to play. You got Kendrick Nunn, TNT. You got almost another team sitting over there. And that's what I said. Coach Vogel's going to have a fun time trying to incorporate all these players into the system and get you a solid team to go out there. And again, you can play different people, different styles of play.
Well, and that's, I mean, at this point, we had Golden State that changed the dynamic of style of play for a while, played small ball. We talked about the Lakers when they won their championship in the bubble. It was an homage to old, big basketball. It's cyclical. It goes around and around. It wasn't going to always be small ball forever. But when you can blend those two styles, and we've talked about some of these effective lineups where you basically have 4 guards and Anthony Davis, or 4 guards and Dwight Howard, but then also you can play big the way they did in the bubble. Yeah, that to me, I agree with you. I don't know that I'm ready to say you're always saying Lakers are the favorites to win the championship, but when you can play multiple styles like that, because it's basically like in the playoffs, in the regular season, there's no scouting. You're just playing games and you're out there. In the playoffs, you scout and you're exploiting other teams' weaknesses. And when you can play different styles, be like, well, what style do you want to play? You want to play big? We can play big. We'll beat you playing big. You want to play small? We can beat you playing small. Not too many teams in the NBA can do that and be effective at it.
And that's going to be the key. With all these players, you Coach Vogel can get his team to the playoffs healthy because you don't have to put big numbers on your big exactly 3 or big 4 every single night. Although Russ can handle the numbers, I think the wear and tear. I think Carmelo, hadn't played a tremendous amount over the last 2 or 3 years. So if asked to play big numbers, I think he would be able to handle that. But for sure, AD, LeBron is going to need that load management word that we hate to talk about through the course of the season. So now that we talked about those 2 subjects, I'd like to talk a little bit about the teams in the West. And you know what, Ari, I look at the stats, the conference, and you look at the Warriors 4-0, the Jazz 3-0, Mavericks, who I really can't stand, but you love them because that's where you live. The Mavericks are
But I grew up in Chicago. The Bulls are 4-0, baby. They're on
well, exactly. We're going to cover them on another show. I ain't going to get to them because by the time we have another show, they could have possibly lost 5 in a row.
Yeah,
and
you're probably right.
Starters anyway. But anyway, you got the Timberwolves that are 2-1. The Nuggets, that's the team I had that was up there with Joker out now because, again, that knee injury, they're 2-2. Look for them to sink a little bit lower than that. But, again, this is early. Lakers sitting at number 7. The Clippers at number 8. Kings, Trailblazers, Spurs, Pelicans, all those guys are down there. It's going to be a fun season because I think everything's going to wash itself out in about 15 or 20 games.
You think the Warriors are legit?
Yeah, I do.
Are they back to being the Warriors?
Pardon me?
Are they back to being the Warriors?
No, they're not back to being the Warriors, but they're back to being the competitive Warriors. They won't be the Warriors until Klay Thompson stepped on that court. And once he steps on, and if he's playing at least 90% of himself, that's when they'll be the Warriors. Because, again, you look at the Warriors, a very good, active defensive team. Them guys are all over the place. Coach Kerr got them moving like they were before. And it's always fun when your best player, Steph Curry, is held accountable on that defensive end. You see him playing defense. Now, they're the Warriors of year right after Klay of shooting that ball. Because, again, Steph Curry is in that zone again like he was 3 years ago where everything he threw up there was hitting nothing but net. And they got some other people. That kid Booth, Booth is that his name? I think one of the players he's coming along. So watch Wiggins. Wiggins is going to be
won the game for him last night.
At the level. Exactly. So Warriors are a good team. Can the Lakers beat them in a 7-game series? Yes, I think the Lakers are too big for them. Are the Jazz a legitimate team? Well, we saw what happened with them after last year's debacle and them leading. All of a sudden, they got beat by the Clippers. So again,
who's the second best team in the West
right now? But weren't they the first best team in the West last year?
No, I said who? No, I said who's the second best in your opinion? Who's the second best team in the West?
Oh, the Lakers.
No, second best
team in the West right now. Even with their record, they're still the second best. Eventually, they're going to tell you they're going to be the number one team in the West. But right now, they're what?
Lakers are second best
in the league right now. Yes, I'm not looking at their record. I'm looking at the team and how they playing.
Totally.
Yeah, the second best team in the West is the Jazz.
Right. Okay.
3-0. But like I'm going off of what have you done for me lately? Nothing. They ain't done nothing. They 3-0. So what? Okay, let's play somebody. All right. And
wait, again, I'm confused, Coop. Who do you think is the second best team in the West? Regardless
of Lakers. The Lakers are the second best team in the West at 2-2 to me.
And you think the Jazz the best?
The Jazz right now, if you're going off the record.
Not record. Forget record. Okay, there's 4 games.
Okay, 4 games. Lakers are the second best team in the West to me right now. Despite the way they played, that you expected that they were going to have some flaws because they got a bunch of new guys. The Warriors right now are head and shoulders the best in the West right now. Okay, and that goes with their record and the way they're playing. These guys came and beat LA at home, and then the Clippers came up there and got beat too. So you got to give them that. Right now with the standings, they have Utah, Dallas, the Grizzlies. And I think, again, once the Lakers get in tune, they're going to beat all of that. They're going to destroy all of that because those teams are not big enough to deal with the Lakers and their ability to play different styles of play. Who do you see as the best team in the West? Second best team?
Yeah, I mean, so the Warriors are intriguing because, like you said, they still don't have Clay and they're 4-0. And like Steph Curry is out to prove we're still the best. But I like, how difficult is it to come back after being gone that long for Clay? Like, I have no doubt he's going to get back to being a great player, but I guess I'm just waiting to see it first because.
But all right, that's why I said if he can come back to 90%, because the type of injury he has requires movement, his jump shot. That Achilles injury is tough to come off of. You can. There have been players that's done it. Kobe Bryant, you can come back, but will you be that player before that injury? I don't think he'll be that player. So if he can come back 85 or 90, they're still going to be a very difficult team to beat.
And like, how long does it take to like, just forget about all that stuff, just to like get back to being in the right shape to play in an NBA game? Because you can't like practice that. There's nothing you can do to get you in shape other than playing games, right?
Yeah, that's it. But I've never had an Achilles injury, and I don't wish that on anybody. But again, I've talked to people that have had that injury. Dominique, that's a tough one to come back because your shooting starts from your feet. You got to have that flexibility and that range of motion in your ankles and in your feet. And then the shot goes through your body all the way to your fingertips, and then it goes back through. So, Clay has the money to get the best. So I'm pretty sure his rehab is going along extremely well. I talked to Michael Thompson a little bit. He won't give me too much because he thinks I'm prying. He's like, Coop, you're not with the media, are you? I said, no, Mike, I truly care. I remember the guy when he was 5 years old growing up now. So he'll give me just tidbits. But from what Mike is saying, his rehabbing is coming along great. At least Clay is back out on the floor. And I like the way the Warriors are working him. They're bringing him along slow. Don't just throw him out there because he thinks he feels good. Just throw him out there when you feel good about him feeling good with the team.
I would say the top 4 teams, regardless of, and obviously the records are probably pretty close here, but I just think the top 4 teams of the West are probably the Jazz, Nuggets, Lakers, and Warriors. In no particular order. Those 4 teams.
See, I take the Nuggets out of that. I give it to Memphis. I like Memphis. Memphis is a team. Memphis is they showed me something the other night. Now, that kid Morant can play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When they started that game, he made 3 bad errors almost in a row. He jumped in the air and got caught and ended up throwing 2 of them away. One he threw to his teammate because the shot clock was running down. If he can curb that ability in him to where he wants to get in the air and, at the last minute, try to find somebody. And when he did that, the Lakers were able, those 2 turnovers, they came back, and that's when they made their run on him. But that kid can play. That team got a lot of energy, man. They got a system, their offensive system that works extremely well for them. And I think so. To me, Memphis is the fourth best team. I think with Joker out, you're going to really see what this team is about. Again, I hope he's not out too long, because for me, the NBA is only fun when your stars are out there on the floor and you can really see what teams are made about. I actually like San Antonio. I like what he has there. Are they a winning team? They'll win some games. They're not close to winning a championship, but they'll win some games, and they're going to make it interesting for people to come there and play them, and on the road, because with them young kids and the legs, they get up and down the floor.
But I'm assuming Jamal Murray is going to be back this year, right? Jamal Murray's coming back at some point, right?
Well, they say at some point, but now you got both your stars out, and Joker's never been out, and he is the focal point of their offense. He's the one that brings the ball up the floor sometimes. He's the assist guy. He's the rebound guy. He's the guy gets easy baskets. They're going to miss that, and I think for me, they're going to fall off. But even with Joker there, and let's say Murray comes back later on, I still think that Memphis is the fourth best team in the league at the West.
Interesting.
So. All right, what else we want to talk about? We talk about chemistry, the Lakers. We can go all day long with the Lakers, because that's what I love. I can't wait till the Lakers see the Boston Celtics to really whoop their ass, because the Celtics are garbage this year. Watching them play.
Let me ask you something. Has the East caught up to the West?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think.
Who won the championship last year, Coop?
Say that again.
Who won the championship last year?
Who won the championship?
Yeah,
that's one team. I don't think. No, I think right now, yeah, you got to give Milwaukee head and shoulders above everybody. If they were to play the Lakers, I think they would lose. Pardon me?
How about Brooklyn?
Brooklyn without Kyrie is just another team, man. They're average. I watched them. Now you're gonna really put a lot on Durant to do what he does, and I think they're a team that's kind of lost. I was liking the Sixers until the Ben Simmons issue broke out. Now they're just a dismantled team. Yeah, there's no team in the East that can beat the Lakers or Golden State. Milwaukee's the only team, and for some reason, Milwaukee get beat. The championship is coming back out west where it belongs and where it's going to always belong. That's my thoughts, okay? You know what? Milwaukee is on a mission. And again, like I said, we'll get into them on another segment, but I'm going to say this about that team. They are really looking good, man. And they have to play good team basketball, which they're doing. I think their defense is amped up even more. And I just hope, and I knock on wood for any team, that no injuries come up on that team, because it will be nice to see two healthy teams from the East and the West, which will be Milwaukee and which will be the Lakers, play with everybody healthy, and you get a good NBA Finals.
We also got the two LA kids, the Ball brothers. They're tearing it up in the East. Lonzo in Chicago and LaMelo now in Charlotte. Man, LaMelo is incredible. Have you watched him play much?
Yeah, I like him. And my question is, how you let your little brother be better than you? That's my question. But you know what? Both of those kids can play, and I think Lonzo in Chicago, that's a good fit for him. I think it's a new beginning, a new team. He's not looked on to do a lot over there. I think what's the kid, Zach?
Zach LaVine. They've got another LA guy, DeMar DeRozan.
It takes a lot of pressure off of him, and he can just kind of like settle down and be the player that he wants to be. A facilitator, score when he has to, but he's not asked to do a lot. Now, his brother down in Charlotte, that kid there, if they ever get some talent around him, they're going to blow up, because he is the ideal fit for that situation. He's a showman. He's going to come out and entertain you. And I wonder how I would do if I had to guard him. I'd lock his ass up. That's what I would do. What you talking about, Coop? Come on, man. Pat my own self on my back. Nobody else is doing it lately.
MJ finally got a pick right. Good for him.
What?
MJ finally got a pick right. Good for him.
You know what? Mike is slowly but surely putting that team together. He's understanding how it works now. But no, those are teams. But we'll get into the East next segment. All right, that's it for Showtime with Coop. Anything you want to say, Ari?
No, man, you're the best. I'm excited. The NBA season is here. It feels like a return to normalcy. You know, we had the bubble last year. There weren't fans. So now fans are back. Like, it just feels good to be back to normal.
And I wish everybody would just adhere to what we got to do, or your beliefs, and not push anything on. But I really wish Kyrie would come on and play, man, because again, you're missing a great player. that could really add. He adds that luster to the NBA, and he's a player that I enjoy watching. He's one of my favorite players. But again, you know, he has to do what's best for him. But yeah, I'm with you, Ari. The NBA is back in full effect. I rush to get home now to see TNT because I love Charles Barkley. I love listening to him. He's almost like me. He's a liar at times. We both think we know more than we do, and we're calling things wrong. And people don't let it get out of the way. Kenny and Shaq stays on top of him. Keep him right, Shaq. But I'm happy, man. It's good. Now you got something to watch on TV. Baseball is coming to an end. The Dodgers didn't get there, but you know what? Hey, I'm loving everything now, especially that the NBA is back. So there you have it. Another episode in the can. Ari, and I promise you this, I finally got Jerry West, and we're going to have him. All we're trying to do is get the day down next week.
Nice.
We're going to get the logo. We're going to get the kid from Cabin Creek. We're going to get Mr. Clutch. We're going to get one of the greatest GMs that's ever participated in this game of basketball on setting several teams up to win championships. Mr. Jerry West will be with us at some point next week. I'm going to get him in here. We're going to get him in there. He's going to give us some time, and we're going to ask him some real serious questions.
I think he's the greatest GM in any sport ever, without a doubt.
Okay. There you have it, Ari. Another one. Always a pleasure, my brother. And to the fans out there, keep listening. Showtime with Coop, insightful BS. This time you got it all from Michael Cooper himself, baby. All the BS you can handle. See you next time.